What's up, man? Shout out to everybody, man. Friday, March the 14th, 2025. Podcast with Soul. Shout out to all my new subscribers. Thank you for following. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate you. You could also follow me on the Podcast with Soul on Spotify and the Podcast with Soul on Instagram. And I want to give a shout out to my girl, Rosine Sampson, down in New Orleans. Myself, Sean Xavier Gumby Sr., my son, Sean Xavier Gumby Jr., the Podcast with Soul, Astigmatism in My Soul, and Gumby Publishing. Do not wish to slander, libel, or defame anybody as it relates to this case. The Cuffy case we're talking about, we are coming from actual court documents that are available online on Pacer. You can download these yourself and you can read them yourself. So, today we are going to be, I'm going to be dealing with Jack Harvey, Tammy Cowins, and Keith Cromer, right? And I'm going to illustrate and start tying some pieces together as to why Cuffy needs a new look at this case. I don't know if you call it a new hearing, an appeal, judicial malfeasance, whatever the case, whatever the term you call it, all the attorneys that watch this, you can put that down in the comment section. What was done in this case should have gotten thrown out, and this should have never went no further than getting thrown out of court. And let me tell you why. Because Tammy Cowins perjures herself. Keith Cromer and Tammy Cowins give conflicting testimony. Jack Harvey gives conflicting testimony. And let's just get into it, right? So the thing is this. Where we're coming from is the Franks hearing, right? The Franks hearing took place on this was coming from October 18th, 2016. This is the redacted transcript, excerpt of volume 2 of the Franks hearing. This is in the Eastern Division of the District of Missouri, United States of America versus Dion Gatlin. So all the paperwork that I'm reading is Cuffy's paperwork, Dion Gatlin, right? And it's all available online. You can get it and read it yourself. So be mindful and keep in mind that all of this testimony takes place in the same week. Jack Harvey goes on October 18th. That's a Tuesday. October 17th is no. The 21st was Friday, 19th. Yeah, October 18th is a Tuesday. October 19th is a Wednesday. And I think the Monday obviously was the 17th because the Friday was the 21st. So all of this testimony takes place either a day after the other party or a day before, or the same day, or 2 days later, or 2 days before. I want to keep that in context. All of this takes place within the same week. Now, Tammy Cowins says that she meets Keith Cromer in 2011. Right? Let's read it. This is the Franks hearing. This is Cuffy's lawyer. This is Joanne Traub cross-examining Tammy Cowins on the stand, page 103 of 271. Right? Joanne Traub. Would you give me a time sequence, ma'am, of when you and Keith Cromer's relationship went from a friend stage to a special friend stage to a romantic liaison. Tammy Cowins. I really couldn't give you a specific time, but I can tell you it was within months, meaning we started off as friends. A few months later, I know sexually we didn't become interacting with each other sexually for several months because he was married and we both decided we wanted to wait. Joanne Trogg, this is Cuffy's lawyer. Okay, I'm trying to tie this down a little bit more, man. You met him in the fall of 2011. And I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but in the fall of 2011, when Mr. Harvey retired, Tammy Cowins, if that's the time, you are correct. Joanne Trogg says, okay. The other defense attorney, Herman, says, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that answer. The judge asked her to speak up. Herman, can I hear that answer again, please? Joanne Trogg, I think she said fall of 2011 was the answer. Tammy Cowins says, yes. Now, Joanne Trogg's next question. Now, when Mr. Harvey retired, you didn't automatically start working like the next day with Mr. Cromer, did you, ma'am? Tammy Cowins. Mr. Cromer reached out to me, as a matter of fact, the same day or the next day. I think there's an email to that effect. So, Tammy Cowins just testifies under oath on the stand that she doesn't meet Keith Cromer until 2011 when Jack Harvey retires, right? And Cromer reaches out to her the same day or the next day, okay? Now, Keith Cromer. This is Keith Cromer. This is October 21st, 2016. This is the Franks hearing redacted transcript, volume 5, page 44 of 158. This is Keith Cromer getting cross-examined by Stephen Welby. Stephen Welby, do you know an individual known by the term CS1? Yes. Stephen Welby, how did you meet her? Keith Cromer, through doing a quarterly meeting, a matter after I became supervisor of Task Force Group 2. Stephen Welby, and when did you meet her? Keith Cromer, sometime in 2010. Question, Welby, is that when you became the group supervisor of that group? Keith Cromer, yes, sir. Stephen Welby, all right, so you met her in 2010. Can you describe your relationship with, it says CS2 at that time you first met her, CS1 at the time when you first met her. He corrects himself. He makes a mistake and says CS2, then he corrects himself and says CS1. Keith Cromer says, I don't understand your question. Can you describe your relationship with Tammy Cowins? Keith Cromer. He wants to invoke his Fifth Amendment. The judge doesn't let him. Then Keith Cromer answers, I don't understand your question. If you're asking what the relation was, it's just we were working and she was getting debriefed. Right? So, Keith Cromer says he met her in 2010. Right? So now you got Tammy Cowins saying she met Cromer in 2011. Cromer's saying they met in 2010. Now, somebody is lying, and we're going to get to the bottom of that. Now, let's deal with Jack Harvey. Let's look at his inconsistencies, right? So after Tammy Cowins helps bring down Terry White, right? And remember, we've already dealt with that Tammy Cowins in the Terry White case is not a CS. She's not a confidential source, meaning she's not providing information for money or to help her work off a case or, to help her get out of a jam. Okay? She's termed a CI1, cooperating individual, right? Which is different from a confidential source. A cooperating individual is someone who is jammed up and caught in a situation and trying to get themselves out. And remember that after Tammy Cowins, and she does this for no money, she receives no compensation for what she does to Terry White, right? At least in the beginning. That's what the paperwork says, right? And we're going to get to it. I know what you're thinking, right? She gets Terry White busted, right? The investigation starts 2008, lasts through 2009. Terry White is taken down. He pleads guilty in 2011. Jack Harvey retires in 2011, and that supposedly was the end of the case, right? Now, let's also remember how Tammy Cowins got introduced to Jack Harvey, right? Tammy Cowins was talking to somebody. She was sent to Jack Harvey by someone Jack Harvey described as an ex-con, right? That's what Jack Harvey describes this person as, an ex-con, right? And this ex-con calls Jack Harvey on the phone and tells Jack Harvey, I'm sending this lady down there to see you, right? So Tammy Cowins goes to see Jack Harvey and explains to him about the Terry White case and how she thinks Terry White manipulated her into laundering money, and she doesn't want to get in trouble, and she's afraid that she's going to get busted for money laundering, right? So Jack Harvey tells her, listen, you would have never gotten in trouble for this anyway, right? And Jack Harvey, at this point, that when Tammy Cowins goes to meet him, Terry White is not under investigation. Nobody knows nothing about him. There is no open investigation. He's not under surveillance. Tammy Cowins essentially delivers Terry White to the DEA, right? And during Jack Harvey's cross-examination, one of the attorneys asks him, what was her motivation? And she says, well, I just wanted revenge because he tried to con me, so I wanted to con him back. But another interesting point comes out, the fact that the ex-con who called Jack Harvey was jealous of Terry White's and Tammy Cowins' relationship. Now, why is that? Right? By this time, Tammy Cowins has Big Meech's life rights and his power of attorney, right? So, and Jack Harvey also states on the stand that he felt that the ex-con who called him that referred Tammy Cowins to him was kind of competing for her affection with Terry White. Or is it that this ex-con wanted Terry White out of the picture because Tammy Cowins had some life rights? Now, remember we dealt with Jack Harvey says at the end of the Terry White case, he decided to put Tammy Cowins in for an award, right? And it came out to be something like $55,000 or $53,000, whatever that number was. And that he also stated that she needed to be kept on and activated as a confidential source in order to receive the award for what she did in the Terry White case. This is a lie. This is not true. Well, I don't know whether a confidential source needs to be kept on in order to receive an award, or can you be a confidential source, get somebody knocked off, put in for an award, get it, and then tell them, say, yo, deactivate me, and they'd be like, all right, we're going to deactivate you, and you're still going to get your award. That part, I don't know. I'm not a confidential source, never been one, so that part I don't know. Anybody who's been a confidential source or worked in the police, the DEA space, if you can clear that up for us, do you necessarily have to be activated in order to receive an award that you do to knock somebody off? So, now where I'm going with this is this. Tammy Cowins was not kept on after Jack Harvey retired. This is such a lie, because she needed to be kept on to receive the award for Terry White. Tammy Cowins was already cooperating with the DEA and Keith Cromer in the investigation of Fidel Suarez and Cuffy, and she was receiving a $2,500 a month stipend for that. She was that conspiracy, the conspiracy with Big Meech, Suarez, and Cuffy was already going on, and Tammy Cowins was a central figure in that. And if you remember, I got it in Cromer's. I can read that for you. In Cromer's, I'm going to read it for you. In Cromer's cross-examination, Tammy Cowins told him about the conspiracy between Big Meech, Cuffy, and Suarez. Right? Keep that in mind. Now, let's get with Jack Harvey, and we're going to come back to that. So, Terry White gets busted. Terry White gets busted. He's got real estate. They say some jewelry was forfeited. This is Jack Harvey on the stand. He's being questioned by Joanne Traub, right? This is Cuffy's lawyer. Joanne Traub, you indicated that the forfeiture amount was around $50,000 and included, among other things, jewelry. Jack Harvey, I don't think I said a dollar figure, but yeah, we had seized jewelry and real estate. And in one of the pieces of real estate, there was a substantial amount of equity. So they were awaiting, the process of forfeiture, which can be pretty slow. Joanne Traub, was any of that jewelry seized or claimed to be owned by Tammy Cowins? Jack Harvey, that, I don't remember that. But just recently, she told me about that, and she said that I should have remembered it. But I did not remember that. That she told me some of the jewelry that was seized from White was actually jewelry that belonged to her and that had not been gifted to her by White, that it was her own jewelry. And that she said she had asked me if she could get it returned to her. I do not remember that. And I think I would have made some effort to return it to her. But anyway, we do not have similar memory of that jewelry. And I believe it was all forfeited. She did not get it back. Now, Joanne Traub. Okay, But in some manner, she did receive monies because she received an award from that forfeiture. This is Joanne Trial, Cuffy's lawyer, asking Jack Harvey. Jack Harvey's answer: I am told that she did finally get an award. I don't know if it was in the latter part of 2011 or 2012, but it was after I was gone. She was never paid anything while I was an agent. So, that's interesting. He says that he thinks she got her award in the latter part of 2011 and the latter or 2012. That's not true. Tammy Cowins doesn't receive any money until March 16th, I think, of 2013, in April of 2013. Within 40 days in 2013, she receives over $100,000, right? And up to that point, before she receives those two lump sum payments, she's receiving $2,500 a month, right? Now, remember, she gets these lump sums in April 2013, and Cuffy got busted February 2013, right? So my position is, what I think is the payments she got in March of 2013 and April of 2013 was the bust of Cuffy, was the work she was doing setting up Cuffy. And the $2,500 a month that she was receiving was her providing actionable intelligence on the Cuffy Suarez conspiracy, which was spearheaded by Big Meech. Because in Keith Cromer's cross-examination on October 21st, 2016, excerpt A, B, and C of Volume 5 of the Franks hearing, October 21st, 2016, United States of America versus Cuffy, page 12 of 18, Stephen Welby asks Keith Cromer on the stand, did you tell Tammy Cowins to advise the DE agents in St. Louis in the August of 2012 that Demetrius Flannery was supposed to get a cut of the proceeds of drug transactions between Fidel Suarez and Dion Gatlin? Keith Cromer, this is his answer: no, Tammy Cowins told me that. Meaning Tammy Cowins told Keith Cromer that Big Meech was supposed to get a cut of the proceeds of the sale of cocaine between Suarez and Cuffy. Now, we're going to go over later today, we're going to get into the $2,500 a month payments Tammy Cowins is receiving for her work, right? She's not doing nothing with Hispanics, right, other than Fidel Suarez. When Keith Cromer finds out Fidel is a Mexican national, I want to say Mexican, is a Mexican national who may have connections to source countries, that's where he may be getting his cocaine source from, then Keith Cromer becomes interested in Suarez and Cuffy because of that fact, right? But up to that point, Keith Cromer has testified he doesn't know who Cuffy is, he's just hearing his name, but he doesn't know who Cuff is, right? Now, also under the cross-examination by Jack Harvey, the defense lawyers are asking him, all right, Mr. Harvey, you put in an award for Miss Cowins, right? You put in an award for her after for Tammy Cowins after the Terry White case. We know she doesn't get paid until March 2013, April 2013. But in the meantime, she's getting these $2,500 a month stipends, as what Keith Cromer titles them. The lawyers asked Jack Harvey, could those $2,500 a month payments be like little down payments toward her award that you put her in for with Terry White? He says, nah, I don't think so. He says, no, I don't think so. So even he admits that the $2,500 payments that she's getting before she gets the big lump sum in 2013 isn't portions of the big award, right? So the real deal is this. This is what's really happening. Big Meech, Cuffy, and Suarez are involved in a cocaine conspiracy. And Big Meech is getting a cut of the proceeds of the Cuffy and Suarez drug transactions, right? So he's involved in the conspiracy, right? And Tammy Cowins, even in the initial affidavit, right, in 2012, she says this. If you go look at page 11 and page 12, it's all there, right? She doesn't begin to change her story, we know, until after Cuffy gets busted. Then everything changes. Then she comes up with this relationship with Keith Cromer. And I'm going to reserve my opinion on that because I want to read a little bit more, because some of Keith Cromer's testimony is a little shaky too, right? Tammy Cowins, we know 100% certain for sure, after Cuffy gets busted, she starts lying, right? And keep in mind, after Cuffy gets busted, she receives this big money in 2013. This is when she picks up the phone and calls Jack Harvey again and starts hinting around like, I don't know why they're paying me this money. I don't know why they're giving me this much money, which is a fucking lie. She knows exactly why she got that money, because she was providing actionable information against Cuffy and Suarez and their drug transactions. And when they took down Cuff, they compensated her for that. And the $2,500 a month that she was getting was for the information she was providing about the Cuffy, Suarez, and Big Meech conspiracy. And when Cuffy got busted, and when Cuffy was able to figure out that it was her who was the informant, when he tried to reach out to Meech and say, yo, Meech, what's up with this girl you sent me, man? You know, then she calls back Jack Harvey and she starts talking shit about all the agents, you know what I'm saying, in Atlanta and Keith Cromer, because now she's nervous, you know. And then it really gets funky for her after the St. Louis DEA publishes the judge's denial of the suppression of the wiretaps, and her name is in there, and people know now for certain that it's her, and they start threatening her. Now she just comes up with these fantastic stories and just outwardly starts to lie outright. And, just from the, with her perjuring herself, man, with her making statements in an affidavit, and then getting on the stand and perjuring herself and lying, that should have been enough to throw out all of her testimony, right? And if you throw out Tammy Cowins' testimony, you got nothing. Tammy Cowins is the central figure in this case, and she is lying on everybody. She has to discredit Keith Cromer in the process. Let me go to, I got some notes here, page 45. She has to discredit Keith Cromer in the process. In order to make her, she has to discredit everybody. She has to discredit Keith Cromer, all of the agents. And the government really don't care because they need her testimony. They need her testimony. So now they're talking about, this is Jack Harvey on the stand being cross-examined by Humphrey. And they're talking about these $2,500 a month payments. Humphrey to Jack Harvey. To your knowledge, are any of these payments that were made prior to the Title III affidavit in August 2012, were any of those connected to Tammy Cowins' work on the Terry case, on the Terry White case? Jack Harvey. The Terry White case, the only possibility that would connect it to the Terry White case would be maybe the justification that these were advance payments on the award that Tammy Cowins was expecting. But Humphrey jumps in. If we look down just a little farther on this, do you see two items that are marked as an award? Jack Harvey, yes. March 5th, 2013, and then April 16th, 2013. So, Tammy Cowins is receiving the $2,500 a month payments before the Title III affidavit in August 2012. She's receiving $2,500 a month, but it's not attributed to the award for Terry White. Why is she getting this money? And I believe what everybody else said too, that Cromer was so in love with her, she had put the kitty cat down on him so hard that he was just giving her money. Nah, because I asked Cromer. I said, Cromer, what about the 80,000? What about the 50 grand, the big money she was getting? He told me, he said, Sean, that was for the work she was doing. That was for the work she was doing. And the work she was doing was setting up Cuffy. I don't know if she was setting up Suarez or both, but she was setting up Cuffy and Suarez, and she was being compensated for that. And when Cuffy got busted in February 2013, she got paid over 100 grand. And a month later, March 2013, March 5th, 2013, and April 16th, 2013. Now I got another page too, page 56. I wrote my notes down, y'all. Now, Who's cross-examining him? Is this Humphrey still? All right, so he's on the stand. The attorney asks him, this is a question to Keith Cromer. Excuse me, this is a question to Jack Harvey. You said then you later learned some news that you said was sad or disappointing or distressing in May of 2014. Jack Harvey, yes, correct. The attorney, and just briefly, that would be that she was in a sexual relationship with the supervising agent. So now in 2014, she calls Jack Harvey and comes up with this sexual relationship with Keith Cromer. Not saying it didn't happen. I don't know. Keith Cromer denies it. He denies having sex with her. But Cuff told me they got pictures of them two in the bed that came out at the hearing. I don't know. Let's keep reading. My personal feeling is she's afraid. She's afraid for her life. She's afraid that she's been exposed as an informant. She knows why she got the money. She knows that Cuffy now knows. And she knows that Big Meech is involved. Right? And this is when all of this takes place. Yes. And just briefly, that would be that she was in a sexual relationship with the supervising agent, Keith Cromer, Jack Harvey, yes, the attorney, and that she had received money that she doesn't know why she was paid. Jack Harvey, well, the money, she said a lot of things about the money to me. I believe in her own mind, she was not overpaid. She probably thinks she was underpaid considering the security concerns that she has and how, she has said to me many times, I wish I never started any of this. I wish I'd never even gone to you, Jack Harvey, on the Terry White case. She wishes she never heard of the DEA. I think I answered my own question. Let's keep going. Question from the attorney. Did she tell you that she had got a check and doesn't know that the check was for or money, not necessarily a check? Did she tell you she got money and she didn't know what it was for? Jack Harvey. Yeah, she may have said that at some point. Yeah, the attorney. She was kept on as an informant, just so I'm clear, in order to make sure she received the award. See, the attorney is asking him to try to get him to contradict himself, right? Because the attorney knows she's been kept on as an informant because she's getting paid $2,500 a month for the information she's providing against Cuffy. Jack Harvey, yes, that was not a big deal. We could have deactivated her and then reactivated her later. It's just 6 of one, half a dozen of the other as far as procedure. I kept her active and she was active at the time that I retired. That's it. That's it. Tammy Cowins perjured herself on the stand. Tammy Cowins perjured herself in the affidavit, sworn testimony. Tammy Cowins should have been charged with perjury, sent to prison, and the case, anything involving Tammy Cowins should have been thrown out. But that didn't happen. Why? St. Louis wanted Cuffy. St. Louis, Missouri, St. Louis DEA, they wanted Cuffy, they wanted Cuffy, they wanted Cuffy. And they couldn't afford to, they knew she was a piece of shit. They knew her word was no good. But her testimony was allowed to remain in the docket, right? In the case. And with her being the central figure of that case, you know, they couldn't let her go, because then Cuffy goes home, right? And all the other cases fall to the wayside, right? Now, my question is, who is Jack Harvey trying to protect, right? By saying, and I'm asking, who's he trying to protect? And I mean it in this way. Why is he not being straight and saying she didn't receive no award for the Terry White case because she was involved in it? Because she was involved in over $100,000 of money laundering with Terry White. And she was actually a cooperating individual in the Terry White case, right? And I don't know if she could get an award for being a cooperating individual, or was she just trying to rescue herself out of it, or was Terry White a sacrificial lamb for somebody else, right? That Tammy Cowins is trying to protect, and that Jack Harvey is trying to protect for whatever reason, by saying this person is an ex-con. He got a call from an ex-con, you know, and we know that Terry White rides to see Meech in prison with Tammy Cowins. I don't think he goes in to see Big Meech, but Tammy Cowins and Terry White ride in the car together to go visit Meech. So, you know, just from a Cuffy standpoint, he needs a new look at this thing. This thing wasn't done right, you know. And I don't care what you say, oh, he deserved it, he did this, he did that. You know, that may be true, and that's fine, but in the United States of America, in the court of law, you should get your due process of law. I think we're all afforded that as citizens, right? So, did he get his due process of law? Did he get his day in court? Yes. Were there some marginal actions in the courtroom that were allowed to be admissible that shouldn't have been? Absolutely. Absolutely. And remember, all of this stuff is taking place all in the same week, within days of each other. Tammy Cowins is on the stand straight lying about everything, about everybody, to save herself and to protect Big Meech. I don't believe nothing she said after Cuffy gets busted. Then we've also read and covered that after all of this blows up in her face, she wants to give Meech his life rights back. She writes him a letter. Why? Why would you want to give that back? What was the deal you and Meech had about these life rights? Was it supposed to be that everything was supposed to be on the down low and nobody know? I get a movie done, but then now that everything ain't on the down low no more, everything then blew up, that plan is no good, let me give them back to you? Just some questions, man. Sean G, peace.